Hello, good afternoon. My name is Ellen Benzine. I'm an account manager with SwipeClock, and I support ApplicantStack products. I'll be conducting the Ask Me Anything hour today, and with me is Carol Kennedy, also an account manager, and Lauren from our marketing department. I'm wondering if you all can see my screen. Carol and Lauren, can you see it now?
Not yet. Let me see.
Okay. I think you should be able to see it now.
Have it now.
Yep. All good now.
Okay, excellent. All right. There are a couple people still signing in, so we're going to go ahead and give it another minute and then get started. So if you can just hang on, that would be great. All right, let's go ahead and get started. It is a couple minutes past the top of the hour. For those of you who just joined us, my name is Ellen Benzine. I'm an account manager, and I will be conducting the Ask Me Anything hour this afternoon, and I thank all of you for joining us. We're going to mix it up here a little bit this afternoon. For those of you who have participated in past Ask Me Anything hours, typically we review an ApplicantStack function and then open it up for questions and answers. Well, what we decided to do this afternoon is share with you the most frequently asked questions that we get and obviously provide the answers. So once done with that, we'll open it up for your questions this afternoon as well. Let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to be jumping around a little bit between this PowerPoint presentation and my demo account, but I'll be sure to go slow. And if you do have any questions, if I move too quickly, feel free to go ahead and input your questions in the question box. You can do that during the presentation, and you can certainly input questions afterwards as well. So the first question you'll see is, can I have more than one ApplicantStack account administrator? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. So let me just take a step back and define the roles that you can have in ApplicantStack. There are three roles: that of an administrator, that of a recruiter, and that of a hiring manager. So an ApplicantStack administrator can see it all and do it all. That individual or individuals can create jobs, launch jobs, see all hires in onboarding if you have onboarding, all completed forms. They have every single permission possible for an ApplicantStack user. They can also make system-wide configuration changes and system setting changes. A recruiter can do everything an administrator can do, except for configure and make system-wide changes. A hiring manager can see his or her jobs and the candidates within those jobs. So one of the beauties of ApplicantStack is that your hiring managers can evaluate candidates, they can provide feedback, they can give notes, they can screen candidates if your processes allow that. But really the beauty of including hiring managers as part of your ApplicantStack recruit team is all information on candidates can be shared electronically. Now, we do charge on a per license basis. ApplicantStack administrator recruiter licenses are a bit more because of their permissions than those of hiring managers. But if you do want to modify your account, add more licenses, you can get in touch with your account manager or submit a technical support ticket, and that ticket will get routed to your account manager. Next question. If I have a previous job that I want to reactivate, what's the easiest way to find the prior job? So you do not have to go through your list of jobs on your jobs table. Let me find you an easy way to find those previously possibly filled jobs or put on hold. I'm going to move to my demo account, and I'm going to navigate to the Jobs tab up top. Here are all my active jobs that you're seeing here, but you do have a search option on the gray menu on the right. So if I click on search, again, I'm under the Jobs tab. This is the information that I can input or use in order to find that prior job. I can use what you see here to filter. So I could think, okay, I know the prior job for which I'm looking is a project manager job. I know the location was in Raleigh. That's all I remember. But once I click search, any job that matches that criteria will come up. So you'll see the project manager opportunity. The location is in fact Raleigh. This, just for information's sake, this job has been filled. So if a project manager opportunity arises again, what I would suggest is you move over to the actions column and you can see you have the ability to clone a job. If you click on clone job, you'll see a new job ID has been created for you. Of course, you can overwrite that if you have your own job ID naming syntax, but you'll see the position is cloned or duplicated. You do have the opportunity to modify any of this information if you want to. Of course, your job description, I hope, would be something more than that. And then once you save, your newly cloned job is in draft mode. And just like any other job that you've created, you would then open it and launch that job. Next question, how can I edit our application for employment? ApplicantStack comes with a default application that you will find in your recruit library. And that application is locked down. It was created using advanced HTML. And when we had it open for editing, oftentimes our customers did not know advanced HTML and got a little in the weeds, I guess I will say, with trying to edit the application. So they asked for assistance from us. We found that it was just a better solution to lock down that application, again, because it uses advanced HTML. But do know that we're happy to edit the employment application should you need us to. All you have to do is submit a technical support ticket. If it's deemed a minor modification or minor modifications, it is free of charge. What we ask is that when you create your technical support ticket, provide as much information as possible. Do you want a question eliminated? If you want a question added, is it a yes/no question? Are there drop-down options? So just think through things like that, but we'll be happy to modify that application for employment for you. Next question. And this is kind of, well, question and a statement. Emails from ApplicantStack often end up in candidate spam or junk folder. How can this be avoided? So spam criteria can vary among email providers. It's not an exact science. So we recommend that you instruct your candidates to whitelist emails, which means accept emails from applicantstack.com that you see there on my screen. And that way, those emails will make it to their inbox rather than their spam or junk folder. To expand on this a little bit, you can also add text, if you want to the successful apply email that is automatically triggered and sent to your candidates when they successfully apply. So let me jump back to my demo account for a minute. And I am signed in as an ApplicantStack administrator, and an administrator has the privilege to modify the setup of the account as mentioned earlier. I'm going to navigate to the blue menu on the left. We're talking about job boards, and edit the settings for your public job board. So I'm under the actions column. I'm going to click on edit settings. This is my demo account job board settings. I require a resume, cover letter is optional. I'm collecting EEO data. There's other information that you can use to set your job board. But what I'm talking about now are these messages. These are default messages that you see in my demo account. But no, any system administrator can modify these messages. So if you are getting feedback that candidates or that ApplicantStack emails are going into your candidate's spam or junk folder, you can modify this email if you want to. Apply, submit, success. This is the default message that you see here now. This is the message that automatically goes out to your candidate from ApplicantStack or Recruit when they successfully apply. So you could add something here that says, hey, you might want to check your spam or junk folder just in case emails from ApplicantStack find their way there. So if you make any modification to this text here, or really any modification to any of this messaging text that you see here, you would want to save it, obviously, in order for that change to apply. Now, just to make a shameless plug for texting, if you do have candidates that you're continuously hearing from that emails are going into the spam or junk folder, ApplicantStack does offer texting. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. But where's your cell phone? You know, mine is 6 inches from me. It's very easy to determine when I receive a text. You do have the ability to text your candidates and new hires if you have onboarding from your ApplicantStack account. Not using a personal phone to text, personal cell phone to text. It's actually an account texting phone number. All users have access to text your candidates. Again, I'm going to talk about texting a little bit more in detail in a minute, but do know that you have that option as well in order to communicate very quickly with your candidates. Next question. Can I have separate employment applications for interns versus applicants for other types of jobs? And the answer to that is yes, absolutely. An employment application is a questionnaire, and you can create as many questionnaires as you want to. So again, moving back to my demo account, and I'm clicking on the library tab up top. The library houses all of that information that you use repetitively, such as job templates, but also questionnaires. So this application for employment questionnaire does come with ApplicantStack, but if you need to modify that for an intern opportunity or for a different type of hire, again, you'd have to ask our technical support team to modify that because, again, it is locked down. But any ApplicantStack administrator or recruiter can create a new questionnaire. So you have the ability to create a questionnaire for an intern type hire, maybe a consultant type of hire, and you would create that application like you would any other questionnaire. You choose the type of answer type that's applicable, you provide instructions, you apply the question, and you build that questionnaire. Moving to the Jobs tab, let me clear my prior search. If I wanted to include a questionnaire from my library on a per job basis, I can click on a job opportunity, and then I would include or navigate, to the Questions tab, and I can then add any questionnaire from the library. Now my demo account has the standard application for employment auto attached. So know that if you do have different types of jobs with different types of applications, you would want to add each application on a per job basis. The next question is, how can I refresh my job postings? So a little word of caution here is that we don't suggest that you refresh your job postings more frequently than every 90 days. And the rationale behind that is third-party job boards could block your jobs if you refresh too often, and or they could make you sponsor your jobs, which means you would have to pay to post. So we highly suggest that you don't refresh more frequently than 90 days. But when that 90-day period is coming close, you do have the ability to refresh your jobs by clicking on the job title, editing the job, changing the job ID number because you're tricking those job boards into thinking it's a new job by changing the job ID number, and relaunching your job. Now, I'm going to show you something that I think is important to note. Moving back to my demo account, this white question mark in the upper right-hand corner gives you access to our online help center as well as our technical support team. So if I click on Help Center, and in the search bar, I input refresh, because we're talking about refreshing jobs. There's an article here that you might want to refer to, repost and refresh your jobs. It tells you how to refresh your jobs, just like I walked you through. Again, we don't advise doing this more frequently than every 2 or 3 months, and probably 3 months or 90 days is the better option. Again, you don't want your jobs blocked on third-party job boards because you've refreshed too often. Next question, why is texting an additional fee? We actually pay our texting provider for every text that is sent from our customers. So the additional fee of $35 a month per account for basic texting allows for unlimited texts from your ApplicantStack users. So if you realize that texts get to your candidates and your new hires faster, or actually, I guess I should say candidates respond faster to texts, really $35 a month per account is a pretty minimal fee. Now that's for basic texting. Premium texting is $95 a month per account. Premium texting allows for all of the features in basic texting, but also provides 2 additional features that include automating texts at a stage change, and it includes text to apply functionality. So again, it's a very appealing monthly fee for both basic and premium texting. And the beauty of it is that all text activity is captured within ApplicantStack. So you're not using your personal phone to text candidates or new hires. You're using the account texting number. And again, ApplicantStack provides that audit trail for all texting communication, as well as email communication. All right, this is the last slide for frequently asked questions, then we'll open it up for your questions. Next question. When I copy job text from MS Word, for example, and paste it into ApplicantStack, the formatting is often off. What is the best way to do this? So the rationale behind incorrect formatting is MS Word, for example, has unique formatting that is specific to MS Word, Microsoft Word. ApplicantStack can't interpret that formatting, which means your job descriptions don't often look aesthetically pleasing. So the way to resolve that is to copy your text from an outside source as paste as plain text. And let me show you where that is. And then you can use ApplicantStack formatting tools to modify your job text. I'm flipping back to my demo account. If I move to jobs, let's just say I'm going to create a new job. I can start with a blank form or a template, as you know. I would fill out all of this information. The red asterisk means that it's required. But if I move down to the job description section here, you'll notice 3 icons. If I hover over the middle one, it says paste as plain text. That's what we suggest you do if you get into trouble with modifying your job text. If you paste as plain text, you can then use the ApplicantStack formatting tools to finalize your job description. If you really get into trouble, you can submit a technical support ticket as well and say, hey, my project manager job ID 1001, I need some help with, can you help me clean it up a bit, for lack of a better term. But again, the best option is to paste text as plain text and then use ApplicantStack formatting to pretty it up. These last two questions kind of work hand in hand. Can I disposition candidates en masse? And how can I move candidates en masse to another stage? So I'm going to go ahead, as opposed to reading this, let's go ahead and go back to my demo account. I'm going to navigate to my candidates tab. And you'll see that John Carroll and Mark Davidson have been knocked out. So the accounting manager opportunity has a questionnaire associated with it. One of those questions is a knockout question. John and Mark answered the quote unquote wrong way. They've been knocked out of consideration for the job based on the job requirements. We all know they're still allowed to apply because they could be a candidate for a future opportunity, and that's how you build your candidate database. So they're still applying, but they're in the new stage, they're knocked out. We don't want them in our active candidate table for the accounting manager opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and check mark both candidate records, and I'm going to mass disposition them. If I come down to set fields here, which is the gray, from the gray menu on the right, I can click on that, and you'll see one of the options here is set disposition. So if I click on set disposition, my disposition options that my account has configured, you'll see them there via the drop down. And in this case, I would choose insufficient education. Once I submit, you'll notice the disposition option is now been populated in John and Mark's record. So that's great. I've dispositioned them. Let me move them out of the new stage and into a non-active stage. So again, I'm going to check mark the candidate records. And if I go to set stage from the gray menu on the right, again, if I click the drop down, I have the ability to choose the stage that I want to move my candidates to. And in this case, it's going to be do not pursue. Once I submit that change, a pop-up appears. I can add some text here if I want to. I can email the candidate saying, hey John, thank you. Hey Mark, thank you for your interest in ApplicantStack. Unfortunately, your credentials don't match our requirements, but we'll contact you in the future if we do have a job opportunity for you. So when I confirm the stage change, oh, I better put in the proper disposition here. So I've already done insufficient education, but my account is configured this way to include that with a pop-up. So once I confirm the stage change, you'll notice that Mark and John are now in that do not pursue stage, which is a non-active stage, so I don't see them in my candidates table. So just like we've mass disposition candidates and mass move candidates, you do have the ability to highlight candidate records, and just to continue with that thought process, you can mass email candidates, you can mass text candidates. So again, there's some efficiencies in ApplicantStack by doing things in mass as opposed to a one-by-one type of situation. All right, those are the questions that I captured for this Ask Me Anything hour. They are frequently asked of us. So we thought, again, we'd change it up a little bit and share some of those questions and obviously answers with you. But you all might have some questions of your own this afternoon. Carol is going to help me and read any questions that have already been submitted. Carol, you there?
I sure am.
Okay.
A handful of questions and more coming in.
All righty.
First question being, it's kind of unusual. They're not receiving any applicants for the past 3 weeks. What could have been the cause or what might have happened? So I'll go ahead and take a stab at this one to start. You might want to check, as Ellen had mentioned, you can refresh your jobs every few months. So it's possible they were posted a while ago. They're just dropping in the listings. You may want to go out to the various sites, go out to Indeed and just verify that they're out there. If you can't see anything that might be of concern, I might go ahead and contact our technical support team and just let them know we're not receiving any candidates. They can check the back end, make sure everything's okay on our side, or provide suggestions. If everything looks okay from our end, maybe they have some ideas. So that would be my advice on that question. Ellen, anything to add to that?
The only thing I have to add, Carol, is take a peek at your job titles. Make sure there's no what we call clickbait in them. We've discussed this on Ask Me Anything hours prior to this. Don't put bonus in your job title, no exclamation points, no dollar signs. That sort of, again, clickbait, third-party job boards don't like to see. So I don't know if there's been any job title modifications, but just as a best practice, you want a simple title with none of the extras in it.
Okay, thank you, Ellen. Next question. How can I prompt for an applicant to upload a document? And that will happen as you are creating your job. And Ellen will go ahead and share that in her account.
Yeah. So I actually have an example of that. This job title is consultant. But if I move over to the questions tab, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Again, I have the application for employment auto attached as a system setting. So you'll see that there, and under actions, you'll see it is a system setting. But I've also configured this job to include or request lesson plans. So I think I'm answering your question is that you can request documents during the initial application process. In this case, it could be a lesson plan, it could be a certification, it could be a writing sample, something along those lines. In order to do so, you would edit attachments. I'm under the questions tab within the consulting job, and you can see I've requested lesson plans and certifications. Just to carry it one step forward, if I open my job board associated with my demo account, I click on the consultant opportunity, pretend like I'm going to apply. You'll see I've requested lesson plans and certifications, and then other documents if the candidate wants to upload other documents. So I think I answered that question, Carol.
I believe so.
Okay.
Looks like
Yeah.
about a half dozen more, maybe a couple more have trickled in. If I don't have the set disposition or the set stage option, who do I select?
Okay. So I'm going to move to the candidates tab. And that's that example of hovering over information and being able to change that information on the fly. So for example, John Nicholas, he's in the interview stage, and you can see how I have a blue dotted line underneath. That gives me the ability to change that information, or in this case, make a stage change. And I use the term on the fly. So that's how you would modify information in your particular account.
Okay, next question. Is there a way to create stages specifically configured for my department or add additional stages?
Yes, but let me qualify that yes. So stages, what you see here are the default stages. You can modify these stages, you can add to them, you can delete them if you don't want them. We absolutely need the new stage because that's where candidates fall when they successfully apply. And we absolutely need the hired stage because that's where, when a candidate moves to the hired stage, they transition to onboarding if you have onboarding. So you can have what we call multiple workflows. So not to get into too much detail, if your recruit workflow varies based on type of hire, you can specify which workflow is the appropriate one when you're creating a job. So for example, if you're hiring an entry-level individual, your recruiting process and stages within your process would vary from hiring probably, a chief financial officer. So again, you can create multiple workflows per job. And when you create a job, you choose the appropriate workflow. So I simply have my default application workflow and then a test workflow because this is my demo account. But again, not to get into too much detail here, there are Help Center articles on it as well, how to create multiple workflows. And then again, once created, you have the ability to choose the workflow that's appropriate for the job. You can clone the default workflow and then modify the clone, which I would suggest doing. And if you get into a little bit of trouble, you can create a technical support ticket and a member of that group can help you out.
Okay, thank you, Alan. I was actually reading ahead on the questions. Did you show where you can create a new stage in the setup?
I did not.
That may help as well.
Okay, all right. So again, any administrator can do what I'm about to do. I'm going to click on my picture up here, setup, which means it's a system-wide modification. Configure from the blue menu on the left, and you can create different stages within your application workflow. So this is getting into some more advanced functionality, but if I do click on stages, you see the stages, most of which you just saw on my homepage. If they're deemed an inactive stage, it means it's not part of the stages that you would see when clicking through on your homepage. But you do have the ability to create a stage. I'm in the gray menu, upper right-hand corner. So you would define the stage and check mark if it's going to be an active stage. Moving back to where we were, to the application workflow, here's my default application workflow. If I choose to edit it, I can bring in whatever stage I just added. So if I want to add a new stage to the workflow, I would follow the prompts here. So your application workflow, I call it kind of the smarts behind the electronic smarts behind moving your candidates from stage to stage. So again, it's a little bit more of an advanced function, but my new stage, when a candidate successfully applies, they receive an email and they receive a text. And it's the same thought process as you move through each stage. If I were to move a candidate to the manager review stage, there are different prompts that will come up in pop-ups. Phone screen stage, if I move a candidate there, I have a message, email, and text saying, hey, we'd like to talk with you by phone. Please provide times that you are available. So again, this is the workflow and the stage definition behind what you see on your homepage. You have anything to add to that, Carol?
I do not, but we have a follow-up question as far as changing stages or dispositions or set field to edit multiple applicants at the same time.
How to edit multiple applicants at the same time, you say?
Correct. So disposition or set field or stage, how do you change multiple applicants at the same time?
Okay. So I've maneuvered to or navigated to the candidates tab, and you can check box all the candidates if appropriate by clicking on the checkbox to the left of the name, or you can pick and choose candidates. And when you pick and choose candidates, you have the ability to come over to set fields from the gray menu on the right and set stage. And if you go to set fields, for example, you can use any of these fields in order to mass move or say mass rate your candidates. The key to this is highlighting the candidates of choice and then either set field, for example, or set stage, as I showed a little bit earlier. Again, the other example of identifying candidates in mass is the ability to email them and the ability to text them, all in mass. You can add them to another job as well. Carol, what else do you have to add to that?
There's still a question about having access to that functionality. So I might suggest reaching out to our support team if you don't see that option. I'm not sure if it's a user access option or maybe something is tweaked individually in your account. I might just go ahead and submit a ticket to our support team to see why you're not able to see that.
Now, you wouldn't see text candidate if you didn't have texting in your account.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next question. I'd like to leave a job showing in my active jobs, but I don't want it launched on our job site anymore. Do I close it and then reopen it and not launch it, or is there another way to do that? So we have a job showing in the active jobs. We don't want it launched on our job site. I'm assuming that means public job board.
Mm-hmm. So in that case, Carol, if I'm interpreting that correctly, it sounds like, well, a couple different things could happen. You could still keep the job in the open stage, but in that case, you would want to modify your launch process. So I clicked on the job title, I moved from the summary page to launch. And again, this is my demo account, so it's going to look a little bit different than your accounts out there. But if I click on edit launch status, I would then uncheck any boxes where the job has been launched. So in that case, I could uncheck public job board. If it was launched to Indeed or Google Jobs, you could uncheck those jobs as well. Or excuse me, not jobs, uncheck the third-party job boards as well. Your job would still be in the open stage, but it would come down from your organization's public job board and any other job boards where it's been launched.
Okay, next question. Is there a way to see if I have sent an email to an applicant?
Absolutely. Again, I'm on my ApplicantStack homepage. I'm going to navigate to candidates. And let's see if I've sent any emails to John. I'm going to click on John's name. And you'll notice that again, I land on the summary page. I'm going to move to the history tab. And again, one of the beauties of ApplicantStack is all activity is automatically tracked for you. So you have an audit trail. In the history tab, you can filter on emails and you can see all emails that have been sent to your candidates and any replies as well. What's next, Carol?
So I'm just reading this one. It's a little bit longer. This may be a question for our support team. It's a little specific to
Okay.
that, but I think we can provide some suggestions. It's been brought to our attention that for the State Workforce Commission, requires an employer to have consent from a minor's parent or guardian before obtaining personal identifying information, application I-9, and so on. Any suggestions on how to go about getting parent signatures or approval before the applicant submits any personal information? That's difficult because your candidate would be applying, and we don't necessarily have a parent standing nearby. Ellen, can you think of anything? Maybe if we send a questionnaire and ask, I'm not sure on this one.
Either am I. My mind is kind of going where yours is. So it's not the parent who's applying, it's the minor. We could certainly email the minor, include a questionnaire, as you said, but the way it's going to come back is that it's going to be tracked via the candidate who is the minor.
Right. I'm wondering if there's a way to do that via through documents. I don't think would work. You'd almost have to email out a form and for a wet baking signature and have them print it out and sign it, send it back, which is pretty inefficient. I might recommend contacting our support team. Maybe they've had this question before, especially since it seems like it's a statewide ruling or guidance. They may have or have had that question before and have some guidance for you on that one.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is what you just said. Send the questionnaire. Again, it goes to the candidate's email, which is the minor. Print it out, wet signature and date, scan it, send it back. Not great. Yeah, technical support might have a little bit more insight on that.
Okay, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. If I missed it, is there a way to copy a job post and just edit it for another job post you need to add?
Yeah. So I think we're talking about cloning. I've moved from my home page to the jobs table. And let's say this accounting manager opportunity, you not only need this individual, but now you need a senior accounting manager. So maybe what you want to do in that instance is move over to the actions column here, and you'll see this kind of what I call a double sheet of paper. But anyway, when I hover over it, you can clone the job. So if I click on clone job, again, you have the ability to complete the required information. You would modify the job title, possibly to senior accounting manager. Maybe it's in a different location. You can modify those job fields there if you want to. And then you probably would modify your job description. So, maybe you include 5 years of managerial experience, something along those lines. But just to summarize, what you would do is clone a current job to create a new one.
Okay, we have some thank yous.
Oh, I would like a thank you. Okay.
Glad we could help.
Uh-huh.
How do I get a signature on a document? So I would assume that would be our documents functionality in the library.
Yep. All right. Again, I'm on my ApplicantStack Recruit homepage. If I click the library, again, this is where you have information that you use repetitively and time again, so you're being efficient and not recreating the wheel. As Carol said, we have what we call a documents function. And documents, the use case, the most widely used use case for a document would be an offer letter. You're pulling in variable information. And And if I look at new offer letter template here, this is a document that I've already created, you'll see variable information being pulled in. Again, when I send this to a candidate, this information, the merge code information is populated with information that resides in the candidate record, or you can input information, say on PTO. Again, the term I use is on the fly if you want to. But where I'm getting is once this gets sent to your candidate, and I can go ahead and go back to the Candidates tab. I've clicked on John Nicholas's candidate record. You'll see one of the options from the gray menu on the right is create a document. If I click on that, I choose the proper document that I want to send to John. And in this case, it's the offer letter that you just saw that resides in my ApplicantStack Recruit library. When I submit that, here's information that, again, I can input immediately. As I click through, now my document has been populated with not only the information that I just input, but also with John's name, with his address. Ellen Demo is the name of my demo account. That would be filled in with your organization name. But once I save that information, you can see it was successfully sent to John. I can review a PDF of the document. And I can go back to the candidate record by clicking here. So what my candidate record now shows me is I have sent John this new offer letter template. So it's basically an offer document. It hasn't been sent yet. I created it on today. And when I email it, the status will update once I complete the email template. So again, I'm getting into some very specific detail, but understand that this document can be sent back with a candidate signature and date on it. You might want to send this immediately. Subject could be offer letter. You can put a message in here. And this offer letter will be sent. So once I send this, I'm going to get, it tells me it was successfully sent. If I click, you'll notice that this information has now been updated. So the recipient, John in this case, gets an email, gets the offer letter, and he is required to sign and date that and can send the offer letter back. So I'm not sure if that was the use case for the question, but the documents function is one of those functions that is not used very often. And it's a great use case for offer letters.
And follow-up questions to that. They were referring to a digital signature on the offer letter, and that should prompt for a digital signature.
It sure does.
That completes that. So I'm not sure, Ellen, if you have completed one or not to show, but just know that that should prompt them for a signature on that offer letter.
It absolutely does. And I'm trying to think, oh my gosh, let's see something here.
It's okay if you can't find one. Just know that it will be there once they sign off on it.
Yeah. All right. Yes, it will prompt for an e-signature, and we do conform to all e-signature guidelines.
Oh, so follow-up to the follow-up. the signature would be from the employer side and not the candidate side. I don't believe we have two-side functionality. It would just be the candidate's signature in that.
Correct. So we've had that question before, that maybe you want a supervisor or a manager to sign the offer letter and then send it off. The only thing I can recall, Carol, and I might need confirmation from technical support, is you would have to add that signature. It wouldn't be a live signature. in the document itself. So you could create your offer letter and pull in some sort of signature here. But again, I would need confirmation from technical support that that would need to be done, and it wouldn't be done real time. It would be an image.
Okay. I think we've got resolution on that. So thank you for that question. Next question, we have two more right now.
Okay.
About 8 minutes to go. Are people using the generic application sort of like a job interest card type of situation, or are hiring managers placing their application to other jobs for consideration? I'm trying to interpret that question as well. So I'm thinking maybe the general job, is that, if you could provide some clarification, if you've got the general job turned on, candidates can go ahead and submit a general application. Maybe you don't have an opening that they're currently qualified for, they just want to express general interest. Correct. I think we're heading in the right direction. If you want to show that, how to create that, and then what you could do, your users could place the application, review it, and then use add a job or set job to put them into a job they think they might be a fit for. That's how I'm going to interpret that question, unless we have further guidance coming through.
Okay, yeah, I think you're spot on. This is kind of a general bucket, again, to grow your candidate database for individuals who might not be qualified for your active positions, but are interested in your company. You do need to have a job set up for that. And in this case, that job is employment applications. And there is a job board setting that you need to specify as well so that general applications can be accepted. An admin can do this by clicking on Setup. We're talking about job boards again from the blue menu on the left. Public job board, come over to Edit Settings, much like we did with those default messages earlier in the hour. And you'll notice you have a general job field here. So you populate that with the job that you created, that I'm going to call it a bucket job. And then once you save that information, you'll see that option on your job board.
Okay, and then once those candidates come in, if you wanted to show set job and add to job really quick, that's where we're headed.
Okay, so for example, if a candidate comes in using that general submit function and they're in that bucket and you're like, hey, this candidate is a great candidate for another opportunity for which I'm recruiting, you can click on the candidate record, and then you've got a couple different options here. You can add to the job, which means that not only will John stay in this case, the general bucket, but you can add John to another job. So any job that you see here, you could add John to evaluate his credentials and move on from there. Again, add to job keeps John in his original job, whereas if you choose set job here, gray menu, way down at the bottom, John would move out of the original job and be only in the job that you choose from the drop down. So totally up to you as to how you want to track that process or implement that process, I guess I should say.
Okay, and I think we are on our last question for now. The job title for position in ApplicantStack does not match the job title for the position showing on the company webpage. Everything else is correct. How do we fix that? Yeah. I'm assuming that means public job board, which to my understanding, that should pull the job title. It doesn't prompt you. There's not that intermediate step that's prompting you for the job title like for a third-party job board. So that one I might be stumped on.
Okay. And let me just expand on what you just said, Carol. So I'm on the jobs tab. The accounting manager job, if I launch that job, so I've moved from the summary page to launch the job. This is my demo account. So Carol's absolutely right. So when you launch a job, you know you have to specify the city, state, and country where that job is located. But you also have an option to modify the job title. So you can have a job title within ApplicantStack that could be very specific to your requirement. Yet you want more of a generic job title when you launch it. You have the ability to change that job title during the launch process. So I don't know if I'm answering your question or muddying the waters even more. But again, you don't have that option when you just post to your public job board, I believe.
Right, I might submit a ticket for that as well and just be very specific which job it is, what title is showing in the system, what title is showing on your web page, and then they can take a look at that and determine why that's not matching up for you.
All right, any more questions?
That is it for now.
Look at our timing, 2
Look at
minutes before the top of the hour. Yeah, so before we sign off, all of you should have an announcements panel. And please note that we have more Ask Me Anything scheduled. You can see we have an onboard webinar scheduled for July 18th. Our next product overview webinar for Recruit is August. That says August 15th. That's actually going to change to August 22nd. And then as always, by clicking the white question mark in the upper right-hand corner, you can access our online help center and you can access our stellar technical support team. Complete this information. So we've discussed submitting a ticket. Be as detailed as possible here if you can. Once you submit the ticket, it will be routed to the appropriate person and you'll get a response directly to you. So I hope this has been beneficial. Again, we mixed it up a little bit on you this afternoon, but we're always happy to answer the questions that you pose during Ask Me Anything. And that next Ask Me Anything is when? It's obviously June 8th, June 29th. So we look forward to seeing you all on the next Ask Me Anything hour with ApplicantStack. And certainly thank you for your participation this afternoon. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.